Oregon is going to the Final Four.
The following is a Learfield presentation of the Oregon Sports Network.
And Oregon is going to play in the national championship game.
Welcome to Duck Insider.
Man, it feels great to be a Duck.
Give it to me, baby. My house. I'm taking it there.
Their competitors, they'll want to put the O on.
Three, got it!
We're going to compete to a standard every day.
The Oregon standard.
Rebound. Up and in. 1 point more to go.
The opportunity to play, put Oregon on your chest, should mean a great deal to you.
Unloads on one into left field, back toward the wall. Gone!
This program is staged to compete and to win championships.
Oregon wins!
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Better banking, local solutions. Live from the Country Financial Studio, let's talk Oregon athletics.
Welcome to Duck Insider, a big win over BYU for the Ducks at Autzen Stadium. And first, unfortunately, we're talking about something to start the show a little bit bigger than football. We'll talk about that game coming up, but many of you on social media, some of you that were at the game may have experienced something that, well, frankly, at the University of Oregon, we're not all that proud of. University of Oregon issuing a statement from this weekend saying, quote, the University of Oregon sincerely apologizes for an offensive and disgraceful chant coming from the student section during yesterday's game against Brigham Young University. These types of actions go against everything the university stands for, and it goes against the spirits of competition. We can and will do better as a campus community that has no place for hate, bias, or bigotry. That coming from the University of Oregon over the weekend. And we begin today's show with Oregon Athletic Director Rob Mullens joining us in the studio. And, well, Rob, I wish that I was sitting here first asking you about just a great top 25 win. Unfortunately, though, something a little bigger than football today.
Yeah, no, that's right. I appreciate you having me on and, being able to address the offensive chant that happened in or near the student section on Saturday. It did take away from what otherwise was a great day for the Ducks. But we take great pride in creating a welcoming, respectful workplace environment for everybody. And, unfortunately, a few individuals decided to chant some offensive remarks. That is not who we are. That is not what we stand for. We take it very seriously. We love having passion and pageantry around college football, but there's no place for that kind of chant in or around anywhere in the world. And we certainly don't want to see it in our venues. That's not who we are. That's not what we represent as an athletic department, as a university, as a community. We need to stand together to stand against that kind of hate and that kind of bigotry. And we want all of our fans that if you see something like that in any of our venues, seek out one of our staff and let's manage it right then and there, because there's no place for that. And when I learned about this Saturday night, I reached out to BYU to offer my apologies, and I want to offer them again here today to BYU, to their athletic department, to their university, and also, I'm really disappointed for our community because we are one that is welcoming, that is inclusive, and this is not who we are, and we do need to be better.
You mentioned that it's a small group that can sometimes take over in that setting, because we do love the passion, right? We've always talked about that before, and I think that's a great reminder for fans that if you get carried away, this is a chance to rein it in. It's a good reminder.
It is, and obviously we love the passion. That's one of the great things about college football, but there's a way to do that in a very positive manner. Again, inclusive, welcoming, support your own team. We're even bothered by the profanity that gets attached sometimes in the chants with the opponent's nickname. There's no need for that. We've got bright people here. Let's be creative in supporting our own team. We don't need the profanity. It's not who we are. It doesn't represent anybody well, and it's unnecessary.
Something that's fresh on my mind, and it was this weekend, Rob. I just became a father. That's why you haven't seen me on Duck Insider every day for the last few weeks. And I actually thought about it from a parent's perspective, thinking about if a young person saw that. We talk a lot about how there are such great examples for young people and inspiration for children on the field. You want those people in the stands as well.
No, you want them in the stands. I mean, I'm having conversations with my sons about this and what it means and how hurtful it is. And that kind of hate has no place in society whatsoever. And we have, loved family members in our athletic department, on our teams, who, this offensive chant could have been directed at them. And again, we have a strong value of diversity, equity, inclusion. We want to be a welcoming place. We want visiting fans to come talk about the Autzen experience, much like we receive when we go to some other places. So, again, we're just calling on all of our community to really hold up our standard, hold one another accountable. We can have the loudest stadium in all of college football in a very positive manner, and that's what we want.
I really appreciate you taking the time to join us, Rob, because I want to say, this is my opinion, everybody. Not every leader would come up and do this and lead the way that Rob just did. Thank you for doing it. Thanks for taking the time. And like I said, hope that we're talking about some positivity next time you're sitting in this chair getting ready for a home game against Stanford.
Yeah, I appreciate you making time because this is extremely important, and we will be better.
When we come back, going to talk a little bit more football, and fans, a reminder of the positivity that we want at a football game, a top 25 win at Autzen Stadium. That's coming up. Going to hear from the head coach Dan Lanning on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hey, Duck fans, we're all about protecting our home turf here in Eugene. You should do the same for your home with Country Financial Insurance. Most home insurance doesn't account for inflation, but with Country Financial, yours can. If something happens to your home, make sure you can rebuild the same house in the same place. Call a local representative or 866-COUNTRY and get a solid defense for your home. Home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Casualty Insurance Company, or Country Preferred Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois. Property must meet age and condition requirements, which vary by state.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union, onpointcu.com. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Opportunity.
Don't go anywhere. Duck Insider continues after these messages on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
The United States Deputy Sheriff's Association is a national nonprofit and the largest non-governmental provider of services to law enforcement. The USDSA assists city, county, state, and federal agencies with free safety equipment donations and officer survival training, along with cash donations to families of law enforcement officers who perish in the line of duty, college scholarships for the children of law enforcement, a citizen awareness program, and more. For more information on the USDSA and how you can help, visit usdeputy.org.
You're never completely ready to adopt a teen.
For late nights writing English papers.
For your teen's music taste.
For dinners, where they talk more on their phone than with you.
For the first time, they call you Mom.
You're never completely ready to adopt a teen, and you can't imagine the reward.
To learn more about adopting a teen, visit adoptuskids.org.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Back inside the Country Financial Studio, Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. I really appreciate Rob Mullens taking the time to do that with us just now, because I mean what I said before. Not everybody would come into this show, into this studio, and do that, but that's how Rob feels about it. That's the leader that Rob Mullens is. I've seen a few people ask this question about what would be the disciplinary action for those involved in the incident. That's a question that's above my pay grade. I'll defer to the campus leaders for that one, for all of you asking that question, but trust me, the campus leaders are on top of this, have been ever since Saturday. Now let's talk a little bit of football. First, some news. Oregon-Stanford kickoff at Autzen Stadium, 8 p.m. on Fox Sports 1. So following the trip to the Palouse this weekend with a 1 o'clock kick on Fox, Oregon-Stanford, the Pac-12 conference opener for the Ducks at Autzen Stadium, the home opener, that is, at Autzen Stadium, going to kick off on Fox Sports 1 at 8 o'clock at Autzen Stadium. What a game on the field, though, huh? That was a great top 25 win for the Ducks at Autzen Stadium. And, you know, we talked heading into the game about so many different storylines that it's a prove-it game. That's what I called it on the pregame show. I called it a prove-it game for Oregon, and, well, I think Oregon certainly proved it. It's the largest margin of victory over a ranked team at Autzen Stadium since the Ducks beat number 12 UCLA 42-14 on October 12th of 2013. Pretty impressive. The Ducks have had a lot of opportunities against top 25 teams, when the Ducks are also ranked in the top 25 at Autzen, and this one was a good one. The Ducks won their 21st straight home game. That's the third longest active streak in the nation and too shy of the longest home win streak in Oregon history. Too shy of the longest streak in Oregon history. And that's when the Ducks were selling out Autzen Stadium at a historic rate. And, man, I mean, that just tells you the success at home. It's made a huge difference. Ducks have also extended the non-conference home winning streak to 30 games. That's the second longest active streak in the nation. The Ducks also took a 4-3 all-time lead in the series against BYU, and I love Jerry on the postgame show. He said, well, the Ducks won the rubber match. It's like Game 7 of the World Series when it's a 3-3 tie going to Game 7, and the Ducks were able to get the win. Did not allow a sack for a third straight game to open the season. Pretty impressive from the Oregon offensive line. I think that's a big part of why Bo Nix has been successful. 5 touchdowns. Tied a career high against Eastern Washington. 5 touchdowns. Not all of them through the air this time. 3 of them on the ground. Bo Nix really effective overall operating this offense. And going through some of the highlights of the game and some of the things that stuck out to me before you hear from Coach Lanning and before we hear Jerry and Jorgie calling the highlights, the fact that the Ducks got off to such a great start, stopping BYU on 4th down on the first drive of the game, I know it sounds weird. That felt like a turning point for me. When the Ducks were able to say, hey, this is Autzen Stadium, this is going to be a physical game, Dan Lanning said it at halftime when we talked with him on the broadcast, the more physical team was going to win the game. Ducks were the more physical team, and they showed that on the opening drive. Then they opened up, and Bo Nix scoring on a keeper, and it felt like, okay, Oregon is really starting to roll. And then the Ducks, of course, did really start to roll. Some of the numbers that stick out, and I talk about that 4th down conversion. How about the fact that the Ducks were 4 of 12 on 3rd down, but they were 3 for 3 on 4th down, including a really gutsy 4th down conversion late in the game that I think a lot of people were kind of going, oh, man, in their own territory, this could be a big one, and the Ducks were able to convert it, and it felt like that helped put the game away. And how about the fact that Oregon held BYU to 0 of 4 on 4th down? That felt like a huge, huge multiple-time momentum swing. Every time you get a stop on 4th down, it means something, but you hold a team 0 for 4, that's the formula toward a big 41-20 win, a big win over a top 25 team. Scott asking, why did they switch the first starters for second team in the third? I think that it was a chance to see a little bit of the depth, and we saw that against Eastern Washington. You get up to a big lead, and, you know, look, the one argument is, well, you want to put them away, and then in the fourth quarter you get a chance to see the depth of this team. I think that that's fair, you know, but it's 2020 hindsight a little bit. If the Ducks come in and there isn't a ball that goes off Dante Thornton's hands that ends up as an interception for Ty Thompson, maybe you're having a different conversation, and it's like, well, the depth worked out. But I get it. You want to be able to put a team away. Ducks were able to do that, though. And maybe the biggest takeaway for me is that even when the Ducks did have BYU come back a little bit, things did start to feel a little bit uncomfortable when BYU came back, when Oregon made some substitutions. The fact that Bo Nix was able to take the Ducks on a drive that ate up 8 minutes and 23 seconds on the clock in the fourth quarter, that's how you put a team away. There are a lot of big turning points in this game. We'll talk about a few of the bigger overall takeaways here in a moment. Our game recap, though, Mike Jorgensen, of course, on color, Jerry Allen on play-by-play. Some of the highlights from Oregon's top 25 win at Autzen.
Oregon and BYU, the Ducks and the Cougars. This is going to be a fun football game. 4th and 6. Going to swing a little screen pass out. Trying to cut it up. Not going to get it. Not anywhere close. Keeping it. Bo Nix spins. Reaches it across for the touchdown. Back to throw off play action. The logo deep. He's down there. What a grab at the 3-yard line. Troy Franklin. Touchdown Oregon. Bo Nix, number 2. Snap, Nix back to throw. Nix throws, catch made. Ferguson turns. Don't deny me the end zone. Touchdown. 4th down and about 2. Give it up, and then it worked. Oregon just buried it. End of game, Oregon 41, BYU 20. Big win for Oregon over a good BYU football team.
Jerry Allen, Mike Jorgensen on the call, our game recap. I think that there were some great highlights. Talking about some of the bigger takeaways, too, in the game. Love the personnel packages that were utilized. You know, what's amazing is when you can sit here and talk about some 3 wide receiver, 1 tight end sets being successful, and then seemingly the next play they go to a 3 tight end set, and everything just seems crazy, right? Well, that's how deep Oregon's tight end group is. Terrence Ferguson, Maliki Monteval, Patrick Herbert. Patrick Herbert even playing that up-back, fullback position. Ducks took advantage of some different formations. At times, even had 6 offensive linemen in there. Josh Connerly was in there as a 6th offensive lineman. You got to love to see that. The differing personnel packages, I think it shows, 1, the depth of a couple different position groups for the Ducks, but 2, the fact that Oregon is able to win games in different ways with those different formations, different personnel packages. You kind of love that. You know, in football, like you talk about, if it's 13 personnel, right, that'd be like there's 3 tight ends in the game, and you can kind of figure out your skill position groupings from there. Well, what happens when it's 3 tight ends and an offensive lineman? I feel like Stanford, we used to call that the jumbo package all the time. I don't even know what the proper terminology is. I'm going to have to ask Coach Dillingham that. What do you call this thing? And he might say, well, I'm not going to tell you that. I understand. Because then the other team's going to know what we're talking about. So, in all seriousness, I kind of joke about it, but I thought it was fun seeing those different personnel packages, using those packages. And as a result, the Ducks weren't afraid to go on 4th down. Converted, like I said, that one in their own territory, weren't afraid to go on 4th down, and it worked out for them. Even saw some I formation. That was fun to see. I think the Ducks have a varied offense. That's going to continue. And some of the numbers, I talked about the 3rd and 4th down. Bo Nix, 13 of 28, 222 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also carried the ball 9 times for 35 yards, had 3 scores. Bucky Irving, a nice performance, 14 carries, 97 yards. Troy Franklin, that one great catch that he made, outstanding. Just outstanding from Troy Franklin. 3 catches, 84 yards, the long of 50. Overall, a great performance for the Ducks. Dan Lanning, the Oregon football head coach. We're going to hear from him post-game. He'll also meet with the media tonight for the Washington State preview. But let's hear a little bit from Coach Lanning.
Well, that was fun. Appreciate you guys. That was a lot of fun. You know, a special crowd. Knew that they were going to come out there and be there for us. You know, I'll say this, it's hard to coach in the 3rd quarter during shout, so I got to figure that out. You know, I thought we stumbled a little bit in the 4th. That being said, we came out to this game and said we want to be the more physical team. I think we were that. You know, we wanted to win critical situations. We were good on 4th down, able to stop them and then get ours whenever we had, you know, opportunities to go for it. We wanted to outrush our opponent. You know, I think that's a brand of physicality that we were able to show. And then establish an identity. You know, I think everybody in the stadium at some point probably realized what we were doing when we ran, you know, Josh Connerly out there, a big group out there with, you know, 3 tight ends in a back where we were about to get big and go play ball. And we didn't really care if you knew what we were going to do. You had to stop us. And I thought our offense did a great job of that. Had some big defensive stops as well, you know, played contested balls well. And then, you know, I thought this was our cleanest game from a special team standpoint. That all being said, there's so much that we can improve on, and we played, you know, BYU today, but we also played Oregon, right? And there's a lot that we want to finish games. We want to be able to capitalize at the end. I don't know that we did as well there at the end as we want to do. So we'll continue to look to go grow. We're about to go play a really good Washington State team, so got to get ready for them. All that being said, appreciate Duck Nation for the job they did today.
Coach, Jordan James played a really big role for you guys, especially on 3rd and 4th down. What have you seen from him in fall camp and kind of leading up to this that really lets you be confident going into him in those situations?
Yeah, we make a lot of those decisions, you know, going into the game based on situations, and I think a lot of the situations you saw Jordan in were 3rd and shorts, 4th and shorts. He's a big back that runs physical, is able to get tough yards, and we had some tough yard situations today where Jordan was able to go have some success.
I want to speak also about the offensive line, but the confidence to go for it there. I think 4th down in the first half, you're on 30. Talk me through that decision. It seemed like it was a quick one, but why the confidence to go there?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun for me during this game. We talk about certain situations as a team in front of the entire team, so those decisions are made long away from the field before we ever get out there. There's one point in the game where Noah Sewell comes up to me and we're on offense, and he says, "Coach, why didn't we go for it there? I thought we'd go for it." I said, "No, we're taking the points here," right? So our guys understand our mentality and what we're going to do. A lot of those decisions are made before we ever get there. That happens in our staff meeting and a pregame meeting before we ever arrive at that moment. So every one of our coaches had confidence in our players to go execute, and every one of our players had confidence in the plan.
And have you seen Bo grow especially these last 2 weeks? I mean, the numbers have been there. He's done it in different ways. How has he kind of grown into this role?
You talk about quarterback and you talk about decision maker, and obviously we got to go back and watch the film, but I thought Bo made great decisions today. Again, each week he gets more and more confident in what we're trying to accomplish. He understands. It's the small things that you guys don't see that make him a special quarterback. The letting the play clock run at the end of the game there when a lot of people would go and just hike the ball. The being able to check us into a certain call based on certain looks they're in. But he did a really good job of operating and handling what was out there for him today.
Dan, can you just speak on the sequences of events in the first half? They missed a field goal. You guys milked the clock pretty well, score a touchdown, get the ball in the second half, go right back down and score. Was that kind of the pivotal moment you feel like of that game?
I don't know about pivotal, but that's what you hope might play out that way whenever you defer in the first, where you might get to steal an extra possession in the first and then turn around and get one, to start off the second half. I know we wanted to come out strong there at the beginning of the second and did a good job there really early in the third quarter going to move the ball and punch it in.
There's been a lot of pressure on Bo after that first game. And for him to come in today and, take it himself to the first touchdown, leading you guys into a great half. Do you feel like he maybe had a chip on his shoulder coming into this game? Or do you just feel like maybe he hit the field today and things were just clicking for him?
I think our team's really good at ignoring the outside noise, right? We only worry about the opinions in our room. And, there's nobody that's ever lost confidence in this building in Bo, including Bo, and his ability to go play for us.
I think you said last week, I don't know if we know where we are yet. Obviously, conference play coming up, there's a lot left to prove. But do you feel like you have a better sense now of just who you guys are as a group?
I know this. I know we'll work, right? And where we're at as a team, I still think there's something to be decided. You're only as good as your last game, and you're only as good as your last play. We got to live in the moment. We're not resting on our laurels. We got a lot of other things that we can go work on, but we have a team that'll work. Right? I told the guys in the locker room, the more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in war. And that's because of what you do between Monday through Friday in practice, right? We got to go work on the practice field to be able to achieve in the game. And what you saw on the field today was a result of the hard work that happens Sunday to Friday.
Dan, as a defensive coach, how do you describe, what would be your words for an offense that is capable of 6 passes of 20-plus, including a 50-yarder over the top, the way that was? And also to go with 6-0 linemen and 13 personnel on first down and have a 5.5-minute drive into the half.
Yeah, ecstatic. I asked our group if they felt like they could have a 14-minute drive there at the end of the quarter. Have they ever seen it? And then we didn't. In fact, we actually had a turnover there. But that being said, I'm really proud of us. We wanted to walk away and create an identity, and we're certainly not satisfied, but we want to find ways to create explosive plays. I think we found some of those today. I think when we go back and look at the film, you're going to see some explosive plays, not because the plays were outstanding, but because of outstanding effort. And that's what we were really looking for, is outstanding effort from our players.
Dan, the tempo just seemed at a different level today. What do you attribute that to? Was that kind of a better understanding of the offense now? Was that an emphasis in practice? What do you kind of attribute that to today?
We want to dictate the tempo. We don't want people to dictate the tempo to us, right? And part of that's based off success. When you have successful plays, you can go fast. But I think you'll also see that we have the ability as an offense to slow it down at times, right? And that keeps the defense guessing. Makes it really hard for the other team to prepare, but we want to be able to play fast when we want to play fast. We want to be able to slow it down when we want to, and I thought Kenny and the offensive staff did a really good job of that today.
Coach, did you feel confident putting Ty in towards the middle of that third quarter, and what went into the decision to take him out after a couple of drives?
Yeah, absolutely. And Ty didn't do anything, wrong, other than I felt like we were in a position as a team that we needed to buckle up, knuckle up. We put our first group back in on defense, put our first group back in on offense, and it was time to make a stand. You want an opportunity to get other guys opportunities. Ty absolutely didn't do anything wrong. I have the utmost confidence in him, but that was a decision for our entire team there as a unit to go put our ones in to set the standard and set the model for how we finish the game.
61 yards rushing for BYU. I think that's a stat you're probably pretty thrilled with. But just overall, the front seven, what was working today, and especially on a couple of those third and fourth downs that were so pivotal?
Yeah, most physical team's going to win, right? And I think we've all heard, they play a physical brand of football. That's a good football team. They've beat good teams. They've played in tough environments. We knew it was going to take our best. Ultimately, if you can protect yourself against shots against that team, shots down the field, and you can stop the run, you're going to have a chance to be successful. So those were our 2 goals going in.
Do you have any update on guys like Byron Cardwell, Justin Flo, Seven McGee? I don't think any of them saw the field today.
A couple of them did, but really Byron was day-to-day throughout practice this past week, and he tested himself, wanted to be able to push on Thursday. He's a warrior, wanted to go to work, came out and kind of went through warm-ups, and I think it was still lingering. You could see he wasn't quite 100%, didn't want to jeopardize, his health. In that situation, if we asked Byron to, I promise you he would have. And that's a great example of his character and what he's willing to do for this team. That being said, we don't want to put our guys in position where they're not going to be healthy. Really the same thing for Justin. If we had to push Justin, he was able to go through warm-ups today. He could have definitely contributed for us and helped us. That being said, the next guy up in both those situations, those guys prepare really hard. They earn their moments in practice. You earn the right to go play football with the way you practice. And the next guy up at both those positions did a really good job. Seven was able to go for us at times, but there was, we were in a lot of 12 personnel. We were in some personnel groups that didn't always put him on the field. And I think his unselfishness is a great example of Seven saying, I don't care how we do it. I just want to win the game.
Dan, dating back to last week against Eastern, your first team offense has scored 13 straight times. 12 of those were touchdowns. Just what do you attribute to the efficiency of doing that over a 2-game stretch?
It goes back to, again, the way you work in practice, having a really good detailed plan. We identified some things that we thought we could have success on during the week. I give credit to our offensive staff for finding some stuff, and we said if they don't adjust to this in certain ways, then it's going to be successful, and we're going to do it until they stop us. And I think that's what you saw today is we're going to run some stuff, do some things until we weren't able to. And that was, that's 2 game plans put together. When it goes the way you think it's going to go, being able to do that. What we have to figure out now is when it doesn't look the right way, are we able to adapt and continue to grow?
Early on, they were picking on Triquez a good bit. You guys turned to Jaleel and Dante more in the second half. Just what your thoughts were on how Jaleel and Dante played in particular.
I'll have to go back and watch the film. Again, we see all those guys. If you're able to touch the field for us, we see you as a starter. And we want to see. I know Dante was able to break up some contested balls there at the end. Want to go back and evaluate the film and see, where we're at. I know that there's some times that we had pretty good coverage throughout, and then we gave it up late. So we got to figure out, how do we work those finishes better and get better at that. But I'll probably have to tap into the film first.
Dan, back to shout for a second. Going forward, how do you think you'll balance that? I mean, letting the guys celebrate, but also kind of keeping them focused is kind of something unique to Oregon. How do you think you'll handle that going forward?
Well, does anybody remember the next play after shout? We gave up a 3rd down for a first down, so I don't know. I got to figure that out, right? We talked through what we were going to see and what we were going to play. We didn't finish on the sack, lost containment with the quarterback, so I got to get better at coaching that situation. We got some really good dancers on this team, right? That's apparent, right? But I hope, we'll have to figure out if there's a score margin or if there's a rule. You get the dance on shout based on what the score is. But I love that our players have energy and passion for this game. This game is meant to be fun, and our guys had fun out there today. But we got to be detailed and finish. And that next play, we didn't finish.
You've mentioned wanting to establish an identity or the identity you were trying to establish a couple of times. How do you sum it up? Like what do you call the identity, or what do you want?
We want to be the kind of team that you don't want to play again. We want to be the kind of team that when you walk off the field, you're sore, you're feeling it, right? You felt physical, and we're relentless, and we just continue to nag at you. And there were certainly some moments today where I thought we showed that. I think there's some times where we could have finished and we didn't. So looking for moments of growth, but relentless is the biggest word I probably could look to use.
Are there things that you picked up on even before Bo got here, Dan, and in the last couple of weeks, particularly the Georgia game? We talk about basically eliminating, like Kenny talked about in the preseason, eliminate the bad plays that end up on SportsCenter. Were there certain tendencies, you don't have to say what they were, but where that decision-making occurred, were there certain routes, were there certain concepts that you were able to identify that if you could eliminate those from the thought process, that he is capable of 5 touchdowns, both on the ground and in the air?
I think Bo is proving that he can do whatever we need him to do within a game, right? That means still operating within the system, but I think every offensive coach would tell you in the nation that there's certain plays that have elements of risk or more risk than others. And, I think we have to be a great team that at times we want to, take the ball down the field like we did today, right? And at times we want to be able to, let our playmakers make plays in space and get the ball out quick. So, yeah, there's certainly some plays that are going to be more risk oriented than others, and in games like today where you get an early lead, you don't have to necessarily work those risks.
The connection between Bo and Terrence Ferguson has been stellar this year so far. Terrence has 4 touchdowns and no other receiver has more than 1. Was that a connection that you saw during camp that you thought was going to be really amazing, or has that just kind of progressed over this season?
I mean, I think it's really shown up in the last 2 games. Terrence is a really good, and talented tight end. I think our other tight ends in that room are really talented as well, and he's been on the right end of the right call and the right coverage to allow him to go make a play. But obviously there's a level of trust there for Bo and the rest of those guys that he's throwing to.
Yeah, you've wrapped up non-conference play. Just your thoughts on where this team is at heading into Pac-12 play, and some just early thoughts of Washington State. They've got a big win last week against Wisconsin. They're up 31-0 right now. Holman can be a tough place despite its size.
I've got a lot of respect for their head coach, and I think what they do, they've proven to be a tough team that can make, go win tough games. I know they've had a battle with Wisconsin. I know they had a battle with Idaho, and they're able to go out there and compete and do a really good job, and they present some different stuff, especially offensively from how you defend them standpoint. So I'm anxious to get in the film. I've been able to glance at them a little bit already, but looking forward to touching base on them even more.
Defensively, Dan, since they didn't throw as much at you by way of multiple running backs and receiving stuff, you guys went with more of a traditional 4-3. Mace was out there that way. Bennett was more in a deep safety. Leduc played a lot. Your thoughts on those 3 in particular, how Jackson played, how Mace played, and Bennett, and just a different kind of capacity. This was not the defensive scheme you were running the past 2 weeks. Yeah, I mean, ultimately we're going to match personnel based on personnel and what they do. And they were a 12 team that lined up in 12 formations, right? So we're going to play with our bigger people in that scenario. To speak on how we played, I got to go back and watch the film. I know there's some plays I want back that weren't right. Lost leverage a couple times. Want to do a better job there. Weren't able to really finish on the quarterback as much as I'd like, but that's also part of how they dictate and how they play the game. It doesn't allow you to. So want to go back and evaluate it, but yeah, we're going to be able to match our personnel based off their personnel.
Dan Lanning, Oregon football head coach, meeting with the media. That was after the ball game, big win over BYU. He's going to meet with the media again tonight. We'll have the preview of Washington State for you on tomorrow's edition of Duck Insider. When we come back, Graeme Abel, Oregon soccer head coach, is with us. Ducks getting ready for Pac-12 play. That's next on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Dear gas prices, Toyota is the #1 retail brand for electrified vehicles for 22 years. That says it all. Toyota hybrids. Find yours at toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
Based on manufacturer estimates, CY 2000 through 2021 sales.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, our all-inclusive event pricing allows us to take care of all of the details while you enjoy your event. Our wedding garden, expansive grounds, ballroom, and meeting rooms can accommodate any size event and come complete with full catering and service staff. From weddings to business and social events, Shadow Hills offers the benefits of a resort atmosphere and the peace of a country setting just minutes from downtown Eugene. For more details, call us today or go to shadowhillsevents.com.
Dear gas prices, Toyota is the #1 retail brand for electrified vehicles for 22 years. That says it all. Toyota hybrids. Find yours at toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
Based on manufacturer estimates, CY 2000 through 2021 sales.
Duck Insider continues after this timeout on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. He sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself.
For many military veteran caregivers, their caregiving journey starts earlier in life and lasts longer. Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
When you're high, you feel different. You think different, you talk different, you draw different, you listen to music different, but you probably knew that. Problem is, you also drive different, and not in a good way. That's why driving high is illegal everywhere. So if you're high, just don't drive. Make a plan to get a sober ride. Because if you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Back inside the Country Financial Studio, it's Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. I'm Joey Mack. Graeme Abel, Oregon soccer head coach, is here with us. And, well, it's been a long time since you and I have had this conversation. So let me begin with, what's been up? Like, what's the latest for you? And it's the long walk from across the hall from your office.
Shouldn't we be asking you what's up?
Well, I'm still a father.
That's awesome, yeah.
So, that's good.
Yep. Changes your life, huh?
It does. It does. Everybody, though, I feel awful saying this. Everyone said that I wouldn't sleep anymore. I'm still sleeping, Coach.
I feel you. My wife reminds me about it all the time.
So you went through that also? I'm not in the minority?
No. She's like, you get to sleep. You don't wake up with a baby. And I'm like, I just have to take it on the chin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So
good. I like that. So what fatherly advice do you have for me now in month 2 of my tenure?
That's a good one. See, as coaches, you got to watch your language around kids.
Sure. Yeah.
So,
well, as broadcasters, you have to watch your language on the air all the time.
Yeah.
So
when I was coaching the pros, I would come home from camps and stuff, and the air was a little blue, and it wasn't good around the kids. So
that's good advice.
It is a good one.
That's good advice. Coming off a 1-1 draw up at Portland, I've been following, of course, and listening to you talk with Jordan each week.
Yeah.
And look, Coach, I think it's safe to say you guys have dealt with some adversity. A few injuries, just a few. Depth has been tested, to say the least. So coming off a 1-1 draw at Portland, a good program. How you feeling?
Good. I mean, listen, this past, what are we now? 6 weeks in, 7 weeks in, whatever it is, all the credit's got to go to the kids because we've adjusted, we've moved players around. I think maybe at times as coaches we're reluctant to put first-year players into the mix, and they've stepped in, they've stepped up to the plate. I mean, a few weeks ago we played Texas. Ainsley Fink makes her debut and is impeccable in the game. And then we've had, Trinity Morales has played so many minutes, and Anna Emperada's now getting major minutes. Argene's really stepped off the field for us. Caitlin McCulloch. I mean, I'm sure there's people I'm missing as well, but there's people who have been absolutely exceptional for us. And then all our returning players as well. They've had to. I mean, Meg Ruckus played at right back, played at left back, played out wide in the 7, played in the 11. She's moved all over the place, and because people are invested in the group and they're invested in knowing roles and responsibilities for everyone, they've been able to do it exceptionally well.
Can you quantify how difficult that is for a student athlete to learn, more than one position, I guess, for lack of a better description?
Yeah, I mean, I think with our sport being fluid, you've still got the set plays, you've still got the plays that you were calling on the defending side of the ball, on the attacking side of the ball, and then you've got responsibilities within the run of the play. So if the ball's in our defending final third, where should you be? If it's in the attacking final third, should it be? If the opposition have the ball and they're building and we're in the middle part of the field, where should you be? If that player's there, then where do you need to be in relation to that player? So that investment from our kids is, I have to give them all the credit because they've done it. And we had the blip versus Santa Clara, and I've said a number of times I put that on me. We got that one wrong as a coaching staff in the first half, but they responded in the second half. And I think as a coach, you look at your team at that point and go, okay, which direction are we going to go now in terms of, are we going to nosedive or are we going to roll the sleeves up and get after it? And we had a tough game in New York right after it, and the kids rebounded unbelievably well. And I think Hofstra had been beaten something like twice in 34 games, and we were the second loss in 34 games at home. So again, all credit to the kids.
That's cool to hear. And by the way, he did an interview from just outside of Times Square after that on Duck Insider. Well done, by the way.
That was a good one. Yeah.
Well done. And I loved the fact that you walk into the Nike store in New York City. That's not in Eugene, Oregon.
Yeah.
And there's Oregon stuff.
We had no idea. It was me, Lisa, and Rach that walked in, and then the first glass case you see, all dedicated to the University of Oregon. So really cool.
They know their history.
They do. And it's funny, you walk in those stores and everyone goes, hey, where can I get your shoes?
Right.
You're like,
sorry.
You can't,
yeah.
You need to talk to Pooh.
Well, talk to Pooh, be a student athlete, be a coach at the U of O. It works out. Graeme Abel joining us. So any Duck fans in attendance when there's over 3,000 there in Portland?
Yeah.
You had some Duck fans, I bet.
Yeah, we saw a bunch of our colours and stuff there. And, there's such a historic program. And, Frenchie's a good friend of mine, and she's done such a good job there. And they're tough. They're different style than what they've been in previous years. And much more effective, and difficult to play against, and and it taxes the legs. And like I said, our kids responded really well. Probably again elevated our performance again. We're not happy with how we conceded the goal. Scored a great goal to go up 1-0, and probably had another couple of opportunities there to go probably up 2 or 3 at the break. And I think at that point it's a different game. So again, it's learning again for our group. But we feel we're in a pretty good place now, and fingers crossed as we get through this week, we're starting to get numbers back. Increases our depth.
Yeah.
We've got a 1-game weekend this weekend, but after that, it comes pretty thick and fast.
Yeah, the 1-game weekend, I was going to ask you about that. It gives you a chance to recoup, gives you a chance for a little extra practice and recovery, doesn't it?
Yeah, the back-to-back 1-game weekends are huge.
Good scheduling. I wonder who did that.
That was not me. That all credit goes to Rachel on that. So right. That has nothing to do with me. So she's the genius. We didn't get to practice today with the smoke in the air and stuff. I take care of our kids with regards to that piece, but we managed to do an additional day of recovery, which I think they need. The miles are clocking up on their legs and that. So, so we'll take advantage of what we have this week, and it'll be a good game on Friday for us.
I want to look ahead toward Pac-12, but I do want to reflect with you a little bit. Graeme Abel joining us. Success against Portland in recent years, especially under your leadership. You're 2-0-2 now in the last 4 meetings. Mm-hmm. How big of a deal is that, just to have that sort of success against an in-state rival?
Yeah, I mean, I think you always want to dominate the state. I mean, number one, we're the University of Oregon, so we want to dominate the state. I think I saw a stat that Chai and Zoe are the first, student athletes in soccer never to lose to the Pilots. So
Zoe Hasenauer, Chai Cortez, first Ducks to never drop a match to the Pilots in their careers.
Yeah, I mean, over the years, with Pino playing for them and Sinky and stuff, they've been so good over the years. So it just shows you how far we've come, and Zoe and Chai are, I'm going to miss them dearly when they leave and enjoy watching them play professionally, but 2 great kids.
So now that non-conference season is over, a little bit of the nitty-gritty report for you fans. Sitting at 2-2-4, sitting at number 21 in the strength of schedule, and you're sitting at 61st in the RPI.
Yeah.
So I say those numbers. What do those numbers mean to the coaching staff? How can fans interpret those sorts of numbers heading into Pac-12 play?
Well, you know me, it's game by game. So number one, I mean, we talk about with the kids just to, could they look at it, and so we educate them on that piece. But I feel as though we're in a good place. I mean, everyone else right now, what we're going to play is in the top 100 in the RPI. Pac-12's done a really good job scheduling-wise this year, and we've done a good job performance-wise. So it's going to be tough as always, but we're in a good place, and we have some great games at home. We got I think we got Stanford at home here. We've got obviously Washington coming up. We've got UCLA. We got SC, Cal, Oregon State. We got tough road games, going to the mountain schools and that. But it's but I feel as though because of the schedule, our kids are well equipped for it.
Break down the conference for us. I mean, now that we're starting Pac-12 play, Pac-12's always good.
Yeah.
Just give us your assessment of the league right now.
We've got so many new coaches in the league. It's I think even since I joined, I think there's maybe 5 additional new coaches that have joined different programs. So, it's going to be interesting. Washington, Nicole came at the same time that I did. They historically they've done really well with Leslie Gallimore, so she's built upon that and kept that going. And so, tough game. The California schools are always difficult. The Bay Area schools are always difficult. So again, when we put together the non-conference schedule, it was designed to test us early on, and so we feel as though we've been able to do that. And our kids are battle hardened now, and they understand what it takes, and so we're looking forward to Pac-12 play.
Washington State, the next opponent, Friday, 7:00, and it's almost like it's kind of a fun matchup. And I should say that it's a fun matchup because you get a little bit of a rivalry series in the Northwest, because you guys have Washington, I should say, coming to town Friday. Football team goes to Washington State. Makes it kind of fun for everybody.
It is. Oregon versus the state of Washington.
Yeah, not bad. Tell us a little bit about this Washington team. What's the scouting report?
They're big and they're athletic. Love to get into wide areas and whip crosses in. And, they have kids, Summer Yates up top, who's, similar to Zoe in terms of youth national team kids, similar age, so good team. Solid across the back. And, we've had a couple of good battles with them over the past couple of years. We had a really good one in Seattle a couple of years ago, and we had one last year. But we didn't do so well in the first half, but second half was a different type of game. So we know exactly what we have to do with regards to the game, and so it'll be a good game and a tough game.
Huskies in town Friday, 7 o'clock. You can watch it on Pac-12 Insider. KWA is going to have the call on the radio side as well. And then, of course, football. That's why I'm thinking Washington State.
Yeah.
It is a battle with Washington this weekend because the Ducks football heading up to Pullman. With your team, I kind of asked you about your assessment of non-conference play. I'll leave you with this. Just what's next for the squad? You want to get a little healthier for sure.
Yeah.
What's next? What do you want to work on heading into Pac-12 play?
All round in all different aspects of the game, making sure set pieces, we're taking care of those pieces, evolving in terms of how we're doing with the ball, making sure we're tighter defensively without the ball, and if we press or we don't press, how we can compact spaces and manage the spaces, where do we want to direct teams to, and so it's all aspects really, and getting video in, getting little snippets of this. The kids are going back to school here this week, so we've got to make sure that from a mental health standpoint as well, they're in a good place there. So it's just ticking all the different boxes and make sure that all round we're in a good place.
He's Graeme Abel, Oregon soccer head coach. Hey, here's just some health, huh?
Health, I'll take that.
Yeah, health is good.
I'm back coaching goalkeepers. Even I'm not healthy these days. My hips are in bits. So if you see me hobbling around, that's me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I won't say a word. I never would. I'm
getting older these days. That's why.
Yeah, but you're still out there training with them.
It's time to hang the gloves up, I think.
I don't know. Leah Freeman's performance against Portland would disagree with you.
I don't know. No, she's doing that herself. It's nothing to do with me. You could get out there and work with those guys, and they'd be fine.
That's not true. I highly, highly doubt that. He's Graeme Abel, a humble man. A humble man.
I don't know about that.
Oregon soccer head coach. Hey, best of luck against the Huskies. Always good when you beat those guys.
Appreciate it, buddy.
All right, we're going to get a timeout. When we come back, let's hear a little bit from Bo Nix, talking a little football. Washington State next for them on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union, onpointcu.com. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Opportunity.
Hey Duck fans, we're all about protecting our home turf here in Eugene. You should do the same for your home with Country Financial Insurance. Most home insurance doesn't account for inflation, but with Country Financial, yours can. If something happens to your home, make sure you can rebuild the same house in the same place. Call a local representative or 866-COUNTRY and get a solid defense for your home. Home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Casualty Insurance Company, or Country Preferred Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois. Property must meet age and condition requirements, which vary by state.
Duck Insider, your home for the latest news on Oregon athletics on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
To protect his home and family from disaster, Steve used courage, wisdom, and his camera phone.
That should do it.
Way to go, Steve! By simply taking digital pictures of his family's important documents, Steve can always have them stored safely online, no matter when disaster strikes. Learn other simple ways to protect your home and family before a natural disaster at ready.gov. That's ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
Chris Jakimick, I served in the United States Air Force and I deployed 3 times. Being a veteran, it's interwoven into your DNA. It is really the absence of the connection and the purpose that can really drive a lot of veterans to some negative thoughts. For those who are in a suicidal crisis, the window of time to save somebody's life is very short. Our duty is to protect ourselves and protect our families. And one way you can do that is store your weapons safely. Store all your guns securely. Help stop suicide.
Brought to you by End Family Fire and the Ad Council.
We are back on Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack with you inside the Country Financial Studio. Let's hear a little bit from Bo Nix in a moment, but first today, Pac-12 Conference announcing defensive end Brandon Dorless has been named the Pac-12 Co-Defensive Lineman of the Week for his performance in the win over BYU. Led the Ducks with a career-high 7 tackles in that dominant 41-20 win, and of course, big reason why also, Bo Nix. But congratulations in order for Brandon Dorless. He was excellent. Talking about physicality, he was excellent up front. We're going to hear a little bit from Bo Nix, the Oregon quarterback, some of his thoughts after the game.
What does it feel like rushing touchdowns in the week?
I mean, obviously really good, but you got to contribute that to the O-line. Really from the start of the game, they were able to block them up, get a hat on a hat, and just make a lot of running lanes for the backs and myself. And we just did a really good job of taking what they gave us. Obviously, they were playing kind of softer on the perimeter, so it was hard to throw it, but we had good running lanes, and that's what we decided to do. And then when we got close there, we were able to punch it in.
Do you feel like this was your best all-around game of your career? I mean, by touchdowns, it certainly is, but that's not the only measure. Do you feel like it was, and how so?
I mean, it's obviously up there. I feel confident about that, but I think that I've had a few games like that just where I've been versatile, but it goes back. I couldn't have done any of it without the guys around me, and the running backs, they ran hard to get us all the way down there. Our receivers did really well on the perimeter blocking, which opened up a lot of shots that we were able to connect on. And so it was obviously a really good confidence game for me. And it was just a great team win. There was nothing that I did that was anything special, and obviously it was all those guys doing most of the work themselves.
You were trying to throw a couple blocks a few times for running backs. You obviously stuck your nose in there trying to get that first down late. How do you balance, that kind of aggressiveness with also kind of protecting yourself?
It's tough. I think as a quarterback in my position, it's one of the toughest things to do because we want to be athletic, we want to use our skills, but at the same time, we know the value of not taking those unnecessary hits. And at the end of the game, obviously there was no question the game was on the line. You got to kind of do that for your team, and then it's just all about what we talk about, our DNA traits. It's about toughness. It's putting your body out there for your guys next to you, and obviously they do the same for me, so why can't I do it for them?
I think with the results of the first 2 weeks, a lot of people thought you learned the most about yourselves from this game. What do you feel like you guys learned about yourselves this week?
That we can compete at a high level with a really, really competitive team, and obviously it helped playing them here at home. The atmosphere was awesome, and we were able to jump on them early. Our defense started out with that, and they from really that point on, after our first drive, we were in control of the game. And obviously that there at the end of the third, it was kind of got a little slow, but at the end of the day, we were still in control of the game. And when we took that last drive down the field, took about, 8 minutes off the clock. That shows a lot about our team.
Bo, Dan talked about wanting to establish an identity in this game. What do you think that 5-minute drive at the end of the first half did to do that, and what do you think that identity is based on that drive?
Well, I think it shows us that our DNA traits are paying off. I think our identity is starting to show that we're a physical, hard-nosed team, but at the same time we can get on the perimeter and we can make some plays at the skill positions as well. And I think when you look at the game film, we'll obviously go back and look at it, but the guys playing without the ball is something that we really talked about heavily this week, and you see a lot of receivers and tight ends and even linemen finishing blocks and playing really well without the ball and getting in the game.
I'm glad that he talked about that. I thought that was a big key in this game as well, that the Ducks were able to get some of those bigger plays because of guys that didn't have the ball in their hands. And look, that's football. We know that. That's why offensive linemen are often kind of joke, right? Like, oh, they're overworked, underappreciated. Well, it was happening from the skill positions as well. Chase Cota had one block in particular that was just ridiculous, and I think that says a lot about this team. Look, I know a lot of fans are still like, well, what happened against Georgia? I hate to say this, I think Georgia's pretty good. I think Oregon's pretty good too. Just a question now of getting better and better each week, and now they got to go do it on the road. Last 2 wins, first 2 wins, only 2 wins of the season have been at Autzen. Now they got to go do it on the road at Washington State. When we come back, taking a look back on the weekend as a whole and getting ready for tomorrow's edition of Duck Insider right here on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, our all-inclusive event pricing allows us to take care of all of the details while you enjoy your event. Our wedding garden, expansive grounds, ballroom, and meeting rooms can accommodate any size event and come complete with full catering and service staff. From weddings to business and social events, Shadow Hills offers the benefits of a resort atmosphere and the peace of a country setting just minutes from downtown Eugene. For more details, call us today or go to shadowhillsevents.com.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union, onpointcu.com. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Opportunity.
This is Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hi, I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you prevent wildfires.
Dude, I've got this. I've been camping since I was 5 years old.
But I am a camping influencer.
You know what? I'll bet you $5. Assistant Smokey, what is the best way to put out a campfire?
To put out a campfire, drown with water, stir, drown again. Then make sure the fire is out cold by feeling with the back of your hand.
Wait, really?
I'll take the $5.
Learn more at SmokeyBear.com.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
It's time for today's STEM tip. Okay, you know recycling is important. No one wants plastic in the ocean. Here's a cool way to repurpose a plastic bottle. Build an awesome terrarium. Cut a large plastic bottle in half and fill the base with sand, pebbles, potting soil, and your favorite plant. I chose an African violet. Put the top of the bottle over your base and place it in the sun. Your plant will grow sealed in its own ecosystem. Fun, right? Learn more at She Can STEM. A message from the Ad Council.
We're back on Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. I'm Joey Mack in the Country Financial Studio. Coming up tomorrow on the show, we've got a lot to get to, including Dan Lanning's press conference from tonight. Meets with the media every Monday, and I saw a couple fans asking, hey, what's the schedule going to be like? When can we expect to hear from Coach Lanning each week? It will be every Monday night that Coach Lanning will meet with the media. So that's on the horizon for tomorrow's show. And we've got, well, a lot of other things coming your way tomorrow as well. Jody Sykes, Oregon Chief Compliance Officer, will be with us in the studio. Your Cafe Yum 2-minute drill. I wanted to spend some time looking back not only on Oregon soccer after that 1-1 tie against Portland. They're sitting at 2-2-4 on the season. Leah Freeman was outstanding. Oregon volleyball, a sizzling offensive and great defensive performance. The then number 20 Oregon volleyball team closed out the non-conference slate on Sunday, a 3-1 win over weekend host Miami. Hannah Pukas directed the Ducks to a .440 hitting percentage, their third outing of the year at 400 or higher. Oregon now 6-2, impressive defensively, limited their opponents to a collective .165 hitting percentage during non-conference play. Pretty good. Ducks are 6-2. Matt Olmer, head coach for the Ducks, will join us on the Wednesday edition of the show, which happens to be the first day of Pac-12 play for Oregon volleyball. Your Cafe Yum 2-minute drill. Menus always available. CafeYum.com. We'll hear from Coach Lanning tomorrow. See you then.
This is your captain. We are going to be experiencing some slight turbulence. Please fasten your... Oh, hold on. Just got a video of my cat.
Imagine the pilot of an airplane was as confident as you are texting and driving. Seems kind of crazy when you put it like that.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.